Hello my lovely fluffy friends, welcome back to the channel. A very warm welcomes to you all. I have been trying desperately to get this video recorded for about the last 3 or 4 days and failed miserably on every attempt. Either the attempt of even trying to get in front of the camera or getting everything out and then everything going wrong. So it is a joy to be here today. It's taken much longer than it should have done, but hey, I'm here now. I've got lots to talk about, although there's not that much stitching that I can physically show you. There's lots of bits and pieces, so buckle in people, because this won't be a short video, I assure you. Now, I'm out of practice with doing these videos, so you will have to grin and bear however much I ramble or go off topic. It's likely, it's always likely. Also, I'm gonna, in the hope that I'm going to make it so that the editing is much less of this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the projects and bits and pieces overhead and on screen rather than holding things up. I'm just trying to make this a little bit more simpler, at least on this occasion. So you'll have to let me know whether this is better, worse, or you don't really care. I know loads of you are going to be like, Teresa, do whatever is easiest for you, but it's never easy for me. Never easy for me. This is multitasking on a whole nother level. But I do have so much to talk about. So without further ado, first of all, I think I need to show you what I have worked on, because I have actually done some stitching. I know. I feel like I should do a drum roll or a round of applause or something along that lines, because yeah, things over the last sort of 6 months have been really quite dismal. I'm hoping that I'm starting to turn a corner. I've definitely been feeling that I'm getting a little more time. Of course, it's middle of November now. We're heading into sort of the Christmas season. So although I'm sitting here saying, you know, things are starting to come back and I'm starting to do a bit more of like the me time, the reality is I'm doing me time, but now it's like, you know, the Christmas stuff and the Christmas shopping and the Christmas parties and the Christmas, yeah, Christmas, people, Christmas. But that all said, I have managed to do some stuff. So let me share with you what I have managed. Like I said, I'm going to be doing this so that I'm going to be sharing either what's on the screen or what's in front of me on an overhead camera, just to make it so that I don't have to keep holding things up and trying to stage where I am in the camera. We're going to see how this goes and see how this works. So first of all, let's look at what I have stitched on. Now, I've not stitched on a lot, I'll be honest, but I did manage to get some time on my alternative reality. So here she is in all her glory. Now, I wouldn't say I got loads. Let me just share a picture of where you last saw her. So this is where you last saw her. I've been working along this section here. So I think she's got more on her shoulder. She's definitely got more hand. And then what I've done is I've worked my way down here. So I've got down to about here. So not a lot, but a bit. So, and do you know what? I pulled this out, and it's the first time that I pulled out a full coverage in a long time. And I was like, do you know what? I've really missed this. In fact, I think this was the one that actually started to make me be like, Teresa, you need to make the time, because you're in heaven right now. And I did. I sat for a whole afternoon on a weekend and sat and stitched on this and absolutely loved every single bit. Every single stitch was glorious. So yeah, it's probably one of my oldest whips, as you know. You'll have to ignore the noise in the background, because my whole family are out there and they're just banging and crashing around because they don't care that I'm videoing. The idea was to try and get this done this morning, like earlier, when, you know, hubby was at work or out and Lauren was in bed, but I ended up going out Christmas tree shopping. Not a real one, I know, it's a bit early for that, but a fake one. And all the decorations, because we're going to change up the colours this year. So me and Lolly went out on an early morning sprint, which actually turned into like a whole morning and half an afternoon sprint to the shops. It's never quick when you take the daughter, especially when she wants to browse and she's in no rush to get home. So yeah, so stitching wise, this is the one that sort of brought me back. This is the one that made me think, oh, I've really missed my stitching. I've really missed my stitching. So I was like, once I had this one out, I was like, wow, I'm loving that. I'm loving it. It's glorious. So then I was thinking to myself, right, well, I've stitched on that for a while, and I did do like quite a substantial amount of stitching on Alternative Reality. And I was like, well, what am I going to stitch on now? So I thought at the time it was sort of like end of October, beginning November. So I was like, you know what? I feel a bit Halloweeny. And you know that I must have been feeling a bit Halloweeny because I did my Stitch With Me on a Halloween piece on my Quaker. So because I was working on my Quaker, I was like, do you know what? That's nice and Halloweeny. We need to pull out something Halloweeny. After stitching on that, I was like, I was sitting in the office and I'm like, I need to stitch on something that's still quite festive. And I don't really have many autumnal projects, but I do have Halloweeny projects. So as I needed to stitch on something Halloweeny, I thought I would pick out my Greta Broom. Here she is. Let me move her over here so you can see her better. It's the Bella Filipina, Greta Broom. Like I say, it was as festive as I could get. And I can't say I did a lot. I didn't do a lot, people, but every stitch for me right now counts. And I know that sort of back in the day, it would be like, 100 stitches in the evening or a couple of hundred, sometimes 500. That's not happening these days. It's like, 2 or 3 threads. But people mentioned, when I said I wasn't sure whether I was losing my stitchy bow, people mentioned to me and said, Teresa, even if you manage to just pull one strand and stitch one strand, that's still stitching. And I took that and ran with it. So it was like for a few nights, in fact, it was 3 nights in October, I literally pulled a thread and I stitched a bit. So I did sort of this bit over here, and some bits and pieces down here. So it's not amazing amounts. I haven't got a picture of when you last saw this one. I'm going to try to sort of regulate the whole videos and do more stitching now. As soon as that happens, obviously the whole where you saw it last will come back into play because I'll have pictures. I'm going to take pictures of this video and put them in a folder so that next month, when I do the next video, anything that I've worked on last month should be in the folder. So yeah, we're starting afresh here with the whole, this is where you saw it last, because some of these projects, when I say this is the last time you saw it, were like back in January, February of this year. Yeah, it's appalling. It's appalling. So like I say, we got a little bit of stitching done just sort of over in this section. There's still a long way to go. Where am I? Where am I stitching? I'm stitching, what have we got? So I'm probably, she says, hold on, I'm just trying to work out. So that's 1, that's 2. So this bit here, she says, if I can stop it glaring, is this bit here. So yeah, not too bad. Could have been better. So the fact that I only sort of pulled strands here and there, I don't think I did too bad because I've done quite a bit of filling in this section here. So more than happy with that. It's not as much as I would have liked. Every time I went to sort of play with this on a weeknight, I just didn't have it in me. And well, you'll find out further along as to why I started off going really well and then sort of it sort of nosedived, but not nosedived and I did nothing. So I have got something to sort of show you that makes up for the fact that I didn't do all of the things. What else? I think that's it for the actual whips, the whips that you've seen before. In fact, that is it. So next, I'm referring to my notes because if I don't have notes, then I'm going to get lost in all of this. So next up, I have, it's a new start, but it's a finish. Yay me! I know. I mean, I'm like, I've gone from like not doing anything to sort of like doing all the things, which I don't mind. So You know that I am stitching Christmas presents, which I think is one of the reasons why I'm really not getting to any of the things that I love, and I'm not getting to stitch on all the things that I enjoy. And it's becoming a bit of a chore, but I committed myself to this, and I should have pulled my finger out and I didn't, and it seems to be taking forever. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, people. There is light at the end of the tunnel. So next up is my new start, new finish. So you'll remember that a few years ago I did some Christmas crackers. These are the beautiful finishing number 8 Christmas crackers by Victoria Sampler. And I think the last time I stitched crackers, I did the Father Christmas and I did the Angel. Well, this time, because it's for the same person and they loved the crackers the first time, I'm doing the other crackers. So we've got the gingerbread man and we've got the snowman. Now, I started with the snowman and here it is. I know, it's tiny, absolutely tiny. Now, confession time. Gotta love a confession, right? I sort of didn't read the instructions as good as I should. Only when it comes to this section along the top. So that was supposed to have one of the gold beads, I think every other one. But I'd already put them in sort of halfway across and then realised that I wasn't supposed to put them into every hole. But I'm like, you know what? I'm not taking them back out now. I'm just not. Definitely not. So it's got more beads on it than it should, and probably some are bigger and smaller than others because I think I've used some of the wrong beads for this. But I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's a little Christmas cracker. They'll be none the wiser. They'll have no idea. They won't be able to tell the difference. There's a little bit of specialty stitching in these. There's not very much on the cross stitch side. So most of the stitches are sort of like road stitches. Hold on, I'll tell you what we've got. We have on this one, she says. So the snowman we have got, she says, I need to do this without showing you the book. So the top row with the red has got a modified partial road stitch. The next row down is a plat stitch. I know, doesn't really look much like anything else other than, I don't know if I can zoom you in. Let me see if I can do a zoom, people. Can we zoom? No, I don't know, it's sort of zoomed. So this stitch here is a plat stitch. And then number 3, this one here, is a lace stitch. Obviously the snowman is stitched, but the snowman is stitched 1 over 1, I think. Yes, he is 1 over 1. He wasn't as bad as I thought he was going to be, in all fairness. Then what have we got? So number 5. So these stitches across here, there is some green in there. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, you can see it. So in row 5 there is a diamond ray stitch, modified star stitch and cross stitch. So that's what that one is. Number 6 is Alice's lace. So they look like crosses, but they're not. They're different to a normal cross stitch. And then number 7 is basically you back stitch the vine, and then you do it's basically sort of like a satin stitch on the leaves. So yeah, and then again in the accessories pack we've got the little hearts. So I don't think I did too bad on that one. Let me see if I can tell you, because that didn't take long at all. Once I actually started that one took me, she says, where is he? Christmas cracker took 5 days. So I started it hold on. So I started it on the 25th of October. And bearing in mind, I wasn't stitching on this all the time. I started it on the 25th of October and I had this completed on the 4th of November. But like I say, I wasn't actually actively stitching on it. That was just as and when, touch points. So I'm not upset with that. And it is very, very small. Very small. But like I say, there's not much of it that is actually cross stitch. Most of it is specialty stitches, which was quite nice to do something a little bit different. So there's my start and my finish. Go me. Go me. You know when you just, it did give me a little buzz, I'll be honest. I had a little buzz. So cute. So we did a start and a finish. What else? So the sleds, people. You would think that I would have them buttoned up and done by now, right? No. We are still a work in progress on sleds. So where have I got to? Let's have a look. Even I don't know where I've got to. These are the ones that I literally have only worked on when I'm on the train. But the fact that we're nearly there. So because we're nearly there, I'm going to try and put these down so that you can see them. I don't know if I've got a piece of paper to put down. What have I got? No, I haven't. Okay, so I'll just put them down and we can look at them. Just so that you know that I have actually done stitching since we last spoke. So here they are. So I already had these ones done. So we had the joy. We had ho ho ho. And we had a partial. This was partially done. I think I hadn't done these bits across the top here. I certainly hadn't done this bit here. So I've just added the details and just got him finished up. So he's finished. And this is the one that I've been working on. And it's nearly there. It's nearly there. So yeah. Just working this border, excuse me. Just working this border here. I couldn't fill in this bit because when I was on the train, I realised that I didn't have the colours that I needed. But we've nearly got number 4 done. So as soon as I've got all 4 of my gorgeous, I can worry about the sleds. Now, the sledges. I've got the wooden sledges that are brown, but given that there's a lot of red in these and black, I'm wondering whether I should spray paint the sledges like a red colour and then maybe put some gold bells on them or something, just to sort of jazz them up a little bit. Not sure, but the fact that we're nearly there. So I've literally got the rest of that one to do, so the rest of this one to get finished, and then I've got one more Christmas cracker. So, and then all of my Christmas stitching that I said I would do is done. Now, I have to say, you know when it's like you feel like I want to sit here and say I'm never doing it again, because I always end up stitching lots of Christmas stuff for everybody else and I never end up with any. But the reality of all this is, although I sit and say I'm not going to do it again, I've sort of made a rod from my own back, because everyone sort of at work expects something stitched because that's what I do. So one more cracker to go, which is this one, the gingerbread man. And I've pulled out the linen. So both of these are being stitched on a 28 count. This one here, the gingerbread man, is going to be stitched on this, which is my 28 count cashel dirty linen. So it's here at the ready. I just need to tick some stitches in it. Always helpful if you actually put some stitches in it, Teresa. So there we go. That's pretty much all of the Christmas stitching. So then I'm going to need to go on a finishing weekend. So I've got the sledges to put together. I've got the Christmas crackers to put together. I've got the Leela's jumpers that I'd already stitched I don't know if I can show you. Where's the jumpers? The jumpers, here they are. Let me share the jumpers. So these were the jumpers that I did, she says. So I've got the backs and I've got the fronts. I've now got the threads for these so that I can put these together. I'm going to put some cording in its coordinating colours. So yeah, finishing weekend. It's all sort of blues and reds. So I need to finish this into a cracker, finish my 2 jumpers, finish these on their sleds, and then she says, is there any more? I think that was it, wasn't it? That's it. That's it for Christmas. Anything else that I stitch for Christmas then is for me, I think, unless there's someone else in my life that I decide I want to stitch for, but I don't think so. I think I've got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I don't want to stitch anything for anyone else. I just want to get back to stitching the things that I want to stitch. But then, she says, because I am sitting here stitching up all of these lovely Christmas gifts, and all the time that I keep looking at them, I'm just like, oh, that's so lovely. And I might, you know, and I've been thinking about Christmas myself, and obviously decorating the house, and I'm like, God, you know, I really like, you know, a tree that has nothing but Christmas finishes on it. I mean, I know I should sort of say to myself, well, you know, no matter what, I should do at least one ornament or something for myself. But with all the will in the world, I keep saying I'm going to do that, and I never do. Never do. I never have anything. All the things that I stitch that look so lovely, I don't own any of it, and I don't have any for me. So I need to sort of, I don't know. I would love to sit here and say I need to make sure that one, you know, even if it's early in the year or late in the year, I have one thing that I do for me each year, so that at least I've got something. But by the time we get Christmas over with, the last thing I want to do is stitch on anything Christmassy, because I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm done. So done. And I want to stitch on all my big projects because I've missed them so much. But then by the time we get to the summer, I mean, that's really what I should do. I should wait until we get into the summer and then stitch my winter stuff or my Christmas stuff in the summer when I'm, you know, chilling in the garden. But this year, I started doing these Christmas things in my garden, and I'm still working on them. So either I need to get a wiggle on, or I need to reduce the amount that I do for others and do a little bit more for me. I mean, I wouldn't even mind, but I haven't even stitched anything for Christmas for my family. No one in my family has any stitching from me for Christmas. It's terrible, isn't it? It's all colleagues, but yeah, you know, once you start something, it's hard to stop. It's hard to go back. So, like I say, I'm going to organise for myself. Once I've got that last cracker done and I've got that last sled done, I might get some matte paint. Now, the problem is, everywhere that I looked for a spray paint that was like a matte red, I couldn't really find any that was matte. And they weren't really that, you know, you got to have the right red. You can't have the wrong red with something that's got red on it. So yeah, I need to find some matte spray paint. I did go to Hobbycraft here in the UK. There's a Hobbycraft that's just opened up at my local retail park, which is glorious. But when I went in there, they didn't have any red spray paint. So I think that might have to be something I order online. So I just need to find somewhere, because spray paint is not normally on my radar. So I'm not that well. I don't really know where to get that from. So I'm going to need to research that. But everywhere that I looked, it was all satin paint, or it was giant tins. And I'm like, I don't need a giant tin. I need one of those tiny little ones. And then I don't know whether, other than the fact that if it's a matte paint versus a satin, whether it makes any difference what type of spray paint I use. I don't know. Maybe I need to speak to my husband for that one. So I will do a finishing weekend and get all of those buttoned up, buy the boxes, get them all packed up, and yeah, and then I can show you them when they're all finished, and I can be like, at last, At last I can stitch the things I want to stitch instead of things that I don't really want to be stitching. Only I think because I know that I'm not benefiting from them. Although it does warm my heart to know that other people receive my stitching. And in all fairness, most people do know how much effort that goes into them at work. So yeah, I don't think they look at them and go, oh, thanks. I think they are, you know, everyone at work is a bit like me. They love, you know, they love handmade. They love handmade things. They may go and buy handmade things normally, but they really do appreciate like the handmade gifts rather than just something that was bought out of a shop. So it's not wasted. You know, my efforts are not wasted on these people. So that does make me feel better. But I do need to try and stitch something for myself at Christmas. So that is pretty much the stitching. But what do I do now? What do I do now? Okay, so there is a little more to what I have been doing, but I'm going to talk about that in a minute because that's going to send us down a whole nother rabbit hole. So what else? So what I didn't mention in my last actual update, which was my September-October update, it was my birthday in September, and a very, very dear, lovely friend did a lovely gift. So she gifted me a 1, 2, 3 stitch voucher type thing. And when I was at one of the retreats, I think it was the No Band retreat of last year, there was a lady there that had a Christmas thing. And when I saw it, it was a Mill Hill. It was like a Mill Hill design, but it was predominantly more beads than it was stitching. The pictures don't do it justice. In the flesh, that did it justice. So, because I was gifted some money to spend at 1, 2, 3 stitch, I decided that, you know, I keep saying I'm going to stitch stuff for Christmas for me. And it's like, well, I need stuff that I want to stitch or stuff that I want to do. And when I saw these, I was like, these are perfect, because they're the sort of thing that I can keep. So what is it? That's right. It's the Mill Hill Santa's Holiday Booklet. So these are all the designs. And the one that I saw the lady actually beading, stitching, there's not much stitching, it's more beads, was this one. The Santa Claus is Coming to Town. And when I saw this, and I don't know if I can input a video of a clip of when you saw it on the video, which was where I was like, wow, that is amazing. If I can, I will put it in here so you can see it. But how this looks on the picture and how this looks in real life are two different things altogether. I was blown away when I saw this. So I actually got this book for this design here. However, now that I've had a little look through, I rather like this Merry Ho 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 up here and the Believe. And then on the back, there's more. So more designs there. I don't think I can show you in the book because no, it's all just the charts. So I can't show you inside the book, but all of the designs in the book are on the outside of the book. I mean, that one is just super cute down here. This one's cute. This one's cute. This one's cute. Rather like that one. See what I mean? See? The more I look, the more I want. So I bought this one purely because of this. Whilst I was there, I didn't even know that they had other booklets, and they had this one, which was the Mill Hill Let It Snow. Again, this is all on 1, 2, 3 stitch. And I because on the picture you can't really see what designs you're going to get particularly well, I looked at it and I thought, do you know what, I think I'll get this one as well, because I think there'll be something on there that I love to stitch. And there's this one here, which is like, I don't know what they are, like hearts. So a heart in the middle with a couple of snowmen. Rather like this one down here. I definitely like this green one, she says. What else? I think that's it in this one. And again, I can't show you inside the book because it is just the charts. But again, lots and lots of lovely Christmas themed stitching for me. So yeah, I'm quite impressed with those books. So thank you so much, Susie, for the wonderful, generous gift for the voucher. As you can see, it has been well spent, well spent. And at least with these, unlike a chart, these last because they're a book. So, you know, you stitch, I'll just photocopy and then stitch these or bead these. I think there's more beading in these than there is stitching, but yeah, absolutely love. So thank you so much for my lovely birthday gift. So I got those. Also, because I was like, well, it can't travel on its own, I decided that I would purchase myself some fabric. I can't remember what I was thinking that I was going to use this for, but I got this. So it's like it's called White Lugana, smoky white, and it's got like this weird vein in it. I didn't really realise it was quite so white. It's very white, but I do quite like it. So I got myself some 28 count, 25 count in that. You know how much I'm a 25 and 28 count lover. But she says, sorry for the rustles. So because I'd bought the books and I was like, well, I might as well throw something else in the pot. So that was the other thing that got thrown into the pot. Now, I'm sitting here saying how much I love 25 count and 28 count fabric. But a lot of the designs that I've been stitching recently have actually been requiring slightly higher counts. Now, I have stitched, I can stitch on 40 count Newcastle linen. I find that much easier to stitch on than say the likes of a 36 count even weave, if I'm honest. Something about the even weave I struggle with, but when it's the linen on the 40 count Newcastle, I can see that. I mean, I still need magnification, but I can see it a lot easier. But I've decided that I'm going to throw caution to the wind. Now, I'll be honest, I did look at various different Fabric of the Month clubs. Some of the ones that I really would have loved to have joined and signed up for, unfortunately, are in the States, and the shipping charge, I think the shipping was even more, well, it's probably not far off what the cost of the material was for the actual fabric. So I was like, well, I can't justify spending twice the price for fabric just because I want to bring it in from the States. I'm absolutely gutted. And, you know, it's not their fault. The shipping, it costs what it costs, but I'm trying to remember. There was a couple where I actually went on the websites and I was like, oh, I'll sign up. And I started the sign up process, and then it wasn't until I got to the bit where it showed where the shipping was. And I'm like, if the fabric is like $20-$30 and the shipping is another $15-$20, I can't really justify it. Not when I can get on a Fabric of the Month club here in the UK and the fabric is only costing me, I don't know, 20 quid. Between 20 and 30 quid. I don't know, whatever it is that I'm paying. I just can't justify it for the cost of the shipping. But I would have loved, there was a couple, like, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. There was one where the lady that came over from the USA to the Essex Needles retreat, she mentioned that one of the ladies there that has a Fabric of the Month club was going to give us some fabric to give to me, so I could try it out. And she was, I think it was oh, I can't remember what it was, but it was her shop that I actually went to with a view to actually sign up for the Fabric of the Month club. How bad is that? Gutted. But I couldn't get on one in the States, and I have been on the Fabric of the Month club with Chromatic Alchemy way back. I say way back, it wasn't that long ago, but a good few years ago. But I rather liked the idea of signing up to a company that did, you know, like sort of like Fortnite Fabrics did, where they had like a neutrals range and then they had the vibrant range. I quite liked the idea of signing up to a neutrals range rather than a vibrant range. Unfortunately, Chromatic Alchemy do not offer that, basically just because of the amount of time that it takes. So you get a mixture of vibrant and a mixture of neutrals. But what she does is ahead of when she's actually going to send you the invoice, she shows you what the color range is for that month, and you get the option to either skip it or have it. So I haven't skipped any yet, but I've only been signed up for once, and this is the one that we had for October. Yeah, because November's I've just paid for. Rather than going high count, because 36 count even weave I know I'm going to struggle with, and I do like the even weave because it gives me the versatility for some of the projects that I stitch on. They call for even weave, not linen so much. That's not to say that I don't like stitching on linen, because I do, but I do tend to find that where suitable, I like to use even weave most of the time. So I've gone with an even weave, but rather than going with a really high count that I'm like, do you know what, this is going to be impossible, I've decided to go with a 32 count, because I'm like, well, that's sort of somewhere in the middle. I know I can stitch on a 28 count. I know I can stitch on a 40 count. I have struggled on a 36 count. So I'm like, well, maybe if I just go with an even weave 32 count, I'm sort of right slap bang in the middle. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to give it a go. She did say that if I don't get on with the 32 count, I can always just change what I want. So if I want to go higher count, I can. If I want to go lower count, I can. If I want to switch it from an even weave to a linen, then I can do that. So this one is Hawk Moth. Like I say, 32 count, 18 by 26. I do like a nice substantial size, because I tend to find that a lot of the projects that I stitch on are bigger rather than smaller. So I don't, although I'm being drawn a lot more these days to the smaller things, I like to know that if I've got some fabric, that the fabric I've got will fit sort of the size of the project. So I'm going with the 18 by 26 for now, and we will see how we go. But yeah, so back on the Fabric of the Month Club. So at least I've got some goodies once a month to look forward to. November's has been released. I think it was quite vibrant, but I say vibrant, it was dark, I think, due to sort of the whole Halloween-y theme. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to have it anyway. So I got that. What else have I got? Also, you all know how she gets me sucked in all the time. So JBW Designs has got a lot to answer for, along with her floss tube, which I have to say, I absolutely adore her videos. They're very informative, they're very instructional. Everything that she shows is, you know, there's a lot of smalls on there. There's a lot of things that look much more doable. And she's just an absolute joy to watch. If you, well, I don't think I know anyone that doesn't know who she is, but I will put a link to JBW Designs floss tube down below. She is adorable. She is great to watch, great to listen to, and very, very good at explaining how they do the finishing of the things that she shows. So love that. I was watching her again and fell down another rabbit hole. Again, it's all Christmas. Look, it's just, I've gone on like this Christmas rage. So we have got this one, which is the French Country Reindeer Stocking. Love that. Really love that. And I'm like, that's all one colour. That would be super easy. I was sitting here thinking, you know what, I could get this and just stitch this for myself. But after I finished all my Christmas ornament things that I'm finishing, but I don't see it happening. But look, the finished size is 9.3 inches by 12 inches. It's 130 stitches wide by 167. So, and 28 count cashel linen, just how we like it. So I got myself the French Country Reindeer Stocking. I also saw this one and was like, you got to have that. Again, all one colour, the Nordic reindeer. It's even smaller, I think. This one calls for a 32 count Belfast sparkle colour. Grey and white over one design. Yeah. So love that one. And then because I was going on this whole one colour theme, it appears, and smalls, because in my opinion I was like, well, that'll be easy to stitch up. We've also gone with the Oh Christmas Tree. So love. So even if I don't get to these this time round, it's unlikely that I'm going to get to them this time round, because in all honesty, by the time I have my finishing weekend and get this stuff done, I think I'm going to really be looking forward to going back to stitching on some of my very neglected projects. So yeah, so I'm loving the idea of these. I would like to think that I could get a little wiggle on and get one done and get it finished so I have something, but reality is very unlikely to happen. But I have it in the wings waiting for me. So that sort of wraps up what I've done on the stitching side and all of the stitchy type stuff. Now, I know I said that I'd done quite a bit since I last spoke to you, and I have, in all fairness, I really have. But it's not stitching. So I fell down a rabbit hole. I was helped down it. I didn't go down there all on my own. I mean, someone happened to post something. I think it was Gina. So Gina Stitches shared with me that there was a crochet along. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't know why she's sending that to me, because I don't really crochet yet. I've tried it and failed miserably. But I don't really think I'm there yet. When I actually looked at this, I was like, actually, it says it's for beginners. It says it comes with videos and the pattern and a chart. And I was like, okay, let's give it a go. Do you know what? People, it is a huge rabbit hole. Huge rabbit hole. So I have to share this with you. So first of all, let me show you the website, because it's probably easier for me to explain. So basically, there's a company called Sirdar, and they have a crochet along. And I think they must do this yearly. So let me just share with you. It's called the NORDIC NOEL blanket. It's done by this company here, Sirdar. Like it says, crochet along the blanket, a festive blanket in just 6 weeks. Now, obviously for me, it's going to be way longer than 6 weeks. Inspired by the designer Helen's love for Christmas, which she shares in the video below. So there's a video. This is the blanket. Would you look at that? As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, and I'm like, I can never do that. Can I? I can never do that. As you can see over here, it says it started on the 1st of November. So we're week 2 has already come out, but I have been working on this. But what I like about it, and given that I can never sit here and say I'm a crocheter or I crochet, because I don't. There was a video for week 1. There's a video for week 2, and it goes through step by step, even how to chain stitch, even how to get yourself started. I was, yeah, absolutely love it. It gives you the date that the next one's going to be released. But as well as that, once you've got, like, not only have you got the YouTube videos, or the videos that you can watch so that you can follow along and you can do what she's doing, there is also the patterns. So you download the patterns, and they come as a bit like a knitting pattern. It sort of turns up as a normal pattern, but also like a chart, which I had no idea you could follow crocheting via a chart, but that's what I've been doing. But love it. Would you look at that? Look. So, and these are all separate blocks. So this is week 2. Week 2 is these stockings. Week 1 is these Christmas trees. So I know, I was like, are we starting with the hardest thing first? Given that I've never really crocheted at all. They've got a Facebook group that you can join as well. So of course, me being me, I had to fall down the rabbit hole. And I was like, at first I was like, I don't think I'll be able to do this. I really don't think I'm going to be any good at this. I'm not going to be able to do it. And I was like, well, you know, I was like, what's the worst that could happen? Now, you can buy the wool from the wool warehouse here in the UK. I actually got mine from Sirdar because I wanted the little label that came with it so that I could put the little 2023 crochet along label on if I ever actually finish it. But I went into it not that confident, I'll be honest. I was not that confident when I first went into this. So I went into this not with high expectation. I was hopeful. Hopeful. There we go. That's a good word. I was hopeful that it wasn't going to be too complicated and I would be able to do it. And because there was a video and I had some very, very good friends that were willing to help and go on video and help me, I was like, well, you know, I can get the stuff, and then if it doesn't work out for me, I've got all the stuff downloaded, and then when I do learn how to do it, then I can, you know, maybe come back to it. But let me show you how I started. So this was my first attempt, and I was talking to my friends, the girls, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Something's wrong. Something's wrong with it. And they're like, what's wrong? And I went, I don't know. I said, I've somehow ended up with like my tree sort of, you know, I've got the tree right over here on this side. I said, but I don't know what's going on over this side. And it just didn't look right. Now, the way that they do this is like a tapestry. So you can see the green through. The idea is that you carry the green thread. So if the green is the background, the light green, you carry the green thread behind the dark thread for the tree. So I had a little practice, as you can see, and I was getting a bit frustrated. I was happy with my loops. My loops didn't go too bad. In fact, the bit that probably should have been the hardest bit, I was like, well, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be once I got, you know, once I got my fingers, because I was all a bit finger and thumb. It was all sort of a bit fumbly to start with. But once I got my head around that bit, I was like, well, you know, that doesn't look too bad. There's a couple that are a bit longer than they should have been. But the rest of it was just like, well, there's no salvaging that. So I thought, she says, I thought to myself, that's it. It's game over. Can't do it. I'm useless. And then my very, very dear friend, Mary Perkins, who does do crochet, she turned around and she said to me, you know what you need to do, Teresa? She said, I'm looking at what you've done. She said, it looks, she said, like you're losing your last stitches. She said, so it's getting smaller and smaller. So instead of having the right number of stitches at the end, because I was missing my first or last stitch, because it was slipping down the side of my work, I thought I'd got to the end. She said, that's how you've ended up with less stitches than you should have. So with a little bit of help from her, I had another go. And in all fairness, I think I did all right-ish. To start with. I mean, obviously the lady does say if they all turn out different sizes, it really doesn't matter, because you're going to block it and then you're going to sort of like sew it all together at the end. I cracked on. So this is my first actual tree. I still think there was some errors, and I'm like, do you know what, I don't care. It's a first for me. But the fact that I ended up with sort of the right amount of stitches, I was like, well, I'm sure there's a way that I can hide that. So I did my first block, and I'm pretty impressed with my tree and the fact that I've learned, I've learned a new technique. I never knew how to crochet before I started. There's a few loose ends on the back, and there's a couple of bits where I should have pulled. So when you bring your green over and then you sort of do this tapestry stitch over, when you get to here, you're supposed to pull the green to pull these bobbles, and I forgot to do that. But do you know what? I don't care. I got something that resembled a tree. So I was like, well, if I don't like this first one, by the time I get to my fourth tree, I can always stitch another tree before I put it together if I get more proficient, if you know what I mean. So I crocheted my tree. And then since then, I've worked on my second tree, which is a different colorway. And this one is much, much better and is looking much more like what it should. Now, that color in the background probably looks a bit black on the screen. It's not. It's bottle green, so it's just a really dark green. But as you can see, my tree is square. I don't think my stitches are too uneven. My loop stitches I think are okay. I've got my stitch markers, she said, which one's just fell off because that's just That's just sod's law, isn't it? Hold on, let me put my stitch marker back in. There we go. I'm really, really impressed. I'll be honest. I really didn't think that I was going to be able to do this sort of thing. Certainly nothing as intricate, let's say. But this is a bit like me and my chatelaines, isn't it? You know, go big or go home. And I think with this, it's the same. It needs to be something that I'm really going to love to be able to persevere. If it's just sort of literally tiny little granny squares of just the same thing going backwards and forwards, I would have got bored. What I like about this is I do a little bit of double crochet and then I do a bit of loop stitching, but it's not all the same all the time. And the fact that I'm changing everything up, it's sort of, I feel like I'm learning. So yeah, again, on the back, this one, as you can see, is looking a bit more as it should do. I've remembered to pull all of the threads through on the back. Yeah, absolutely loving it. I'll be honest, absolutely loving it. You know, when you're just like, I can do this. I'm so excited. So, although I've not been stitching very much, I have spent quite a lot of time with the crocheting at night time. You know, when hubby's watching TV or when I'm laying in bed listening to my audio books, those sorts of things, just because it's just, it doesn't require too much testing of my eyes. Yes, there's a bit of counting, but not massive amounts. And I can sort of stick it on my lap and just sit back. You know, you sit back and relax and do it at the same time. Whereas with my stitching, I always feel like I'm a bit hunched over and I really have to concentrate. With this, I'm like, well, it just doesn't feel quite so difficult. I don't have to use my brain quite so much, I don't think. I mean, I do, because I have to read the chart, and because I'm not proficient at crochet, there is an element of work that I have to, you know, I do have to focus and pay attention to what I'm doing, but it's not quite so testing on my eyes. So yeah, loving that. But obviously I'm down. I mean, I say that this is like tree number 1. There we go. Look, there's tree number 1. It's not a great looking tree. Tree number 1, arguably, sure that it's still not quite right. And I'm like, I might have to redo tree number 1. Tree number 2, she says, if I can do this. Tree number 2 is coming out beautifully. It's so much better. And my tension is starting to get a bit more where it should be, I think. So yeah. Considering I've never crocheted before, yeah, even I'm impressed with me. But it wasn't easy to start with. So to start with, it not that it was a hot mess. It wasn't a hot mess, but I was really struggling with the counting, and I kept missing that first stitch. So my very, very dear friend Mary Perkins, when she said to me, you need some stitch markers, she said put stitch markers in the first stitch and the last stitch, and then that way you won't ever lose the stitches on the end. And I'm like, it's okay, Mary, I've got stitch markers from when I was doing the knitting. Here's my stitch markers. Let me hold on, let me share with you my stitch markers. So these were my stitch markers, which I was like, do you know what? Stitch markers are stitch markers, right? Doesn't make any difference. Here they are. It does make a difference. And I didn't know this because these were the ones that I first started using. And these are the ones where they're like little safety pins. See what I mean? They're like a little safety pin. But the problem is once you hook them through, and then you have to sit there and faff about with it to do it up so it doesn't fall back off. I was spending more time playing with the stitch markers than I was actually doing the crocheting. So my dear friend Mary sent me a card, and in the card it had some special stitch markers. It says, these are called split ring markers and are the best. I found them, she found them for crocheting. They are metal and magnetic and go through the stitches really easily. They're from a company called cocoknits.com, based in the USA. All the UK stockists have sold out. Oh, love her. She tried to get me some. Love Mary. So I was like, okay, well, we'll give them a go. Do you know what? She's totally right. She is totally right. These are so much easier because they're just like little ring circles. And you can just literally turn them around and take them off and turn them around to put them back in. So she gave me a few just in case I need more than 2. So I've got more than 2, but I'm definitely going to have to invest in some of these, because if I'm going to keep this up, these stitch markers are going to be, they're going to be a game changer. They already are a game changer. They're so much easier to put in and take out as and when I get to the next row. So love, 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 love. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a crocheter, because I'm not yet, but it's a work in progress. This is a bit like the sock knitting, isn't it? It took a while to get there, but some of it starts to come together. But I am finding that with the crochet, if I go wrong, I can pull the work back out and then pick up the stitch and read where I'm at. Whereas with knitting, I can't do that. With knitting, if I dropped a stitch, I daren't go back, because if I tried to pull anything out, I'd lose all my stitches and I couldn't really read the knitting, if you know what I mean. The crocheting, I can read it. Well, I can at the moment, but then I'm only doing, what is it, double crochet and loop stitch. That's it. And with the tapestry. So apparently there is a different way where basically you stop the yarn and then you start the next colour. The Facebook group, there is a Facebook group. I'll put the links in the description box below for Sirdar. Sirdar have got a Facebook group for this crochet along. Lots of people have shared their lovely pictures. In fact, I'll put some pictures in here, because there was these people that have crocheted these trees. One, they had 4 trees done in like less than a week, like less than 2 or 3 days. And they even decorated them. And I was just in awe, because I was just like, wow. And I was like, there's no way I'm posting any of my pictures of my trees on there. Not this side of Sunday. No, definitely not. Maybe next year when I'm a bit more proficient, but definitely not with my trees, not after seeing their gloriousness. But I wouldn't say that it's not made me think, oh, well, they're really good, and so theirs only looks good because they're really good, because I do know that it's a case of practice makes perfect. One day my trees might look like their trees, and then I get to decorate them the way they have. But yeah, I'm over the moon with my crocheting. Like I say, I will link to the split ring markers as well, because if you're new to it or you didn't know about them, they for me have been a total game changer. So now you know why there's not really massive amounts of stitching. So finally, on the haul side, whilst I was going on a bit of a spending spree, and I say a spending spree, loosely spending spree, I went on to the Facebook group to Pretty Little Thread Keeps, so Hazel, and was looking through, and I haven't bought any of these for so long. And when I went on there, when you're like, oh, I knew there was a reason I didn't come on here. That's because I needed to be good, and I haven't been good. So she had some festive type things that I was just like, do you know what? I need some of that in my life. I need some of that. I'm just sitting here working them out for you, so that you don't have to deal with the crinkles and the everything else. Right, so the first ones that I decided to go with was because they were festive, and it's these lovely pumpkin ones. So I've got like the set, which is like a set with a small ring and a hook. One which I think is just for, what is that one for? Scissors, and then a ring for my threads. But love the little pumpkins, love the design. So I was like, yep, love that. Got to have myself some of that. But then also, I got totally wowed, people, by the Christmas ones. Would you look at some of these? Look at those. I was like, I just love. I mean, this one. Would you look? And it's got little stars, and it's got reindeers, and it's got, yeah. It's got all the things. So I had to get myself some of those. And then I carried on further down, and then, would you believe, there was these ones, and I was just like, I have to have these. I have to have these. So these are like little Christmas scenes. This one is to die for. Look at that. I don't know how much you can see. I don't know if it's glaring, but oh wow. Love people. And I was like, do you know what? I'm working more and more with my thread drops now. And I am working more on smaller projects as well. So I'm like, well, trust me, they're not going to go to waste. They're definitely not going to waste because they're just too gorgeous. So if you're looking for thread drops, see what I mean? When I do this, you can't see anything in this light. Maybe if I bring it, no, it's not going to have any of that either. There we go. Would you look? Would you look? I mean, that's just beautiful. So anyway, if you are looking for thread keeps or scissor keeps or any of those, I will put Hazel's details below. It's a Facebook group, Pretty Little Thread Keeps. There we go. So I've done all my spending. Now I have been requested by my family to come up with a Christmas list so that they know what to buy me for Christmas. So I've made a few wish lists and given the various other stitchy type stuff, because I don't normally often ask for stitching stuff because it's normally something I buy myself. But I was like, you know what? Let's give them something else to buy me for Christmas instead of, you know, the typical toiletries or, you know, perfume and those sorts of things. So I'm trying to find some stitchy stuff that they can buy me. But it's a lot harder when you're asking someone else to buy it for you because they don't always know. It's like, you know, when it's like, well, there's the chart, but I need the accessory pack as well. But to try and explain it to my family, they're like, accessory pack? It comes with an accessory pack? So, yeah. So I've been looking at other stuff, but it's nothing that I'm going to buy. It's only if I get it for Christmas. So what else to tell you? I think we're nearly done. This is like turning into a rather long video, considering that there wasn't that much stitching, but there was lots of stuff. There's always lots of stuff in these videos. What to tell you? I'm checking the notes now. So notes say, because I can't do this off my head. So the other place that I looked at for the Fabric of the Month Club here in the UK is West Green Loft Yarns. I'll put a link so you can see it. They are doing glorious hand-dyed fabrics, linen specifically, and hand-dyed threads. I love her yarn as well, I'll be honest. I mean, I've been wowed by the yarn, and I keep thinking to myself, if I carry on with this crocheting, then there'll be a whole nother load of purchasing needed, because I'm going to need myself some of that, because that yarn is it just makes me go all warm and fuzzy on the inside. So because I went on there and I was looking at the yarn, I actually saw the even weave and linen, and I think my lovely friend Anne, I think she pointed them at me when I was doing sort of the sock knitting. Yeah, I think I might be doing some more purchasing, but not of cross stitch stuff. It'll be yarns now. We're down another rabbit hole. I can feel it. But yeah, so they're also doing a Fabric of the Month Club. It's closed now because she's finishing for the end of this year. But apparently, I'm only going to tell you this once, people. Apparently, she is reopening registration, I believe, again, in January. And if you sign up for their newsletter, you will be notified when the registration for that Fabric of the Month Club goes live. So if you go on there and you see West Green Loft Yarns and you love the look of the fabrics and the threads that are there, then yeah, just in case anyone else was on the look like I've been, because it's a bit hard to come by here in the UK. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know I've got Megan Coffee Craft Fabrics. The problem with the ones that Megan does for me is that she doesn't name them. So if I'm the sort of person that if I stitch on a fabric that I like, I tend to stitch on it again for something else. But if it's a one-time deal and there's no reference to it, I can't say to her, well, I want that colour, because there is no colour. It's just the name of, it's just basically, you know, you get what you get in that batch. And she does do a Fabric of the Month Club, so you'll get lots of different versions. But it's not like if I get one off of her, I can say to her, like, you know, 6 months later, oh, can I have a fat quarter of that fabric? Because I can't tell her what the name of it is, because, yeah. You understand what I mean. Doesn't come with a name. So it doesn't come with a name or a code so that it can be replicated. It can only be reinvented. There you go. That was a better way of putting it. So hence the reason why I didn't go with Megan at Coffee Craft. But to be honest, I do get a lot of Megan's fabric when I'm at the stitching retreats because she's there. So I tend to get a few handfuls of bits and pieces from her so that I've got some of it. But for a Fabric of the Month club, I think I like to know a name of the fabric in case I ever want to purchase it again. Because otherwise it would be something where I was like, I'll be too frightened to use it in case something else come along that would be stitched better on it and I wouldn't be able to use it because I've used it on something else. See, I told you, we're going down a huge rabbit hole now, people. Huge rabbit hole. Okay, so what else to tell you? Whip Go. I did say back early in the year that I was going to just let Whip Go carry on, mark down the numbers that were getting called, and then once I got my Christmas stuff done, I would catch up. We're abandoning that. I'm never going to catch up now. What are we at? It's the 12th of November. What was I thinking? To think, oh yeah, you know, by end of August, you'll have all your stitching done, Teresa, and you'll be back on it. No. So I'm going to abandon the Whip Go this year. But I am going to do a Whip Go board for next year. I'm not going to make it as complicated. And I'm going to include organising stash as part of my Whip Go. So it won't necessarily be that I need to do, you know, stitching on a certain project. That there will be some of that in it, but it will also be like, I don't know, clean out one drawer in my craft room or sort out one box in my craft room or that sort of thing. I'm going to incorporate other stuff as well, just to make it more fun. Christmas is coming. I have Christmas shopping to do. I don't think I've got people coming to me for Christmas this year, which means that the normal, you know, chaos that I have to deal with and all of the preparation for having the house clean, you know, getting all of the decorations done, getting all the food shopping in, doing all the food. I won't be doing that this year because I think I decided last year I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it again. It's somebody else's turn. So I think Christmas for me is going to be a little bit more of a quieter affair, let's say. That's the plan. You know, best laid plans and all that. So because of that, I'm hoping that I might actually have some more time for videos or live streams or something, because although I will be busy getting Christmas shopping, I shouldn't really be that busy doing all the other things. That said, my husband's decided that he wants to decorate. So I can't put my Christmas decorations up just yet because we've got some painting to do and he wants to lay a new floor. So yeah. I love how he's doing it on the 12th, you know, or basically, he hasn't even started it yet. I think some of the stuff turns up tomorrow. But bearing in mind, that's the 13th of November, and he's decided he wants to start ripping the house to pieces. So, yeah, watch this space. And since as I am the painter and decorator, and he's like more the build things person, I think I might get dragged into all of that. And there's no way I'm letting him near a paintbrush with all my wood furniture out there because he can't be trusted. So I will get dragged into that, but I'm going to wait and see. I'm quietly positive that it'll be a bish bash bosh. You know, he'll get it ready. I'll just run through and paint, and then the floor goes down, and then job done. That's how I'm hoping this is going to go. But we will wait and see. What have I got to look forward to? So towards the end of this month, I have one final, it's not a retreat, it's a stitch day. So the Essex Needles retreat, or Essex Needles Stitch Day, I think is on the 25th of November. It's the last one of the year. I'm really looking forward to this one because I missed the last retreat I was supposed to go to. Because of COVID, would you believe it? I know, I got COVID and I felt dreadful for 2 whole weeks. But it was the stitching retreat where the lovely ladies had agreed to stitch some of my trees on my chatelaine. So I was truly gutted that I wasn't making it to the actual retreat. But that said, there are a few of the lovely ladies that are going to the Essex Needles retreat the beginning of next year. And they've said to me, Teresa, if you still haven't done your trees, we're more than happy to stitch a tree. So yeah, the fact that no BAM isn't again until October next year, I'd like to think that my evening in the park would be completed before that date. Famous last words. But yeah, it may be that some of the ladies at the Essex Needles Retreat will do some of my trees for me, and the rest I'll just have to do. So the stitch day in November, so 25th of November, we're doing a Secret Santa. I know who my person is, and I've already got the stuff. I think there's a couple of more bits that are winging their way to me, but super excited. And we're having a lovely Christmas lunch as well. Really looking forward to that. The only other thing to share now, I don't normally talk to you about things that I, read audiobooks. I do a lot of audiobooks because I'm on the train, and when I'm on the train and I'm stitching, I do like to listen to a book. And I have been listening to this book, and this was recommended to me by Ellie Welly Stitcher on FlossTube, and she turned around and she said, "Oh, if you want a good book, Teresa," she said, "I've got a good book for you." I mean, what's it called? And she said it's a book by Rebbeca Yarros, Fourth Wing. Now, it's a fictional book, and it's basically how to describe it. It is Dragon Riders Academy, but there's a bit of everything in it. So it's very fictional. It's got about dragons in it. It's a bit sexy in places, so there's a bit of sexual tension. It's definitely not a book that you want to be reading in front of any kids. It can get a bit raunchy, but wow, I couldn't stop listening to it. I was listening to it on the train. I was listening to it walking around the house. I was listening to it while I was doing my crochet. It was, yeah, I was hooked. Absolutely hooked. So this is the book I'm talking about. It's called Fourth Wing. As you can see, this one's on special. Lauren is a book reader. So my daughter, she can't do audiobooks. She likes to actually read, and she likes to smell the book. So she has got the actual book, so it was easier for me to show you. This book, absolutely loved. But I finished it, and at first I was like, oh no, what am I going to do now? Well, there's a second one, and I think it's just come out, and it's called Iron Flame. So this is the next one in the series. Of course, Lolly's got the actual book. I'm listening to the audio book, but if you're, I mean, I wouldn't even say normally that I'm into dragons. It's not really I wouldn't normally listen to that. But I do like fictional books. But there's just something about these that I've found really, really gripping, and I've really got into the story. So if you're looking for something that's all about dragons and, a little bit raunchy, a little bit different. I say different, it's not different. I don't know, I cannot describe it. I've just found them a really, really good audiobook. So I can only imagine that if it's this good on audio, what it must be like to actually read the book. So if you're looking for books, me and Ellie Welly Stitcher, we've both been on this. So yeah, really, really good books. But I thought I would share purely because I was so impressed by this book, like the Fourth Wing. So impressed by it that I thought, do you know what? I'll share it. I'll share it on my channel. Ta-da! And we're done. So I look forward to seeing you again in December. I wish you all well. I hope you get lots and lots of stitching in, and you're all preparing for your festivities. I know that for those of you that are in the USA, you are gearing up for your Thanksgiving. So I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And until next time, people, bye-bye for now.